Good day. It's Wednesday, December the 1st. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. We've got CEO Yona Shtern on of Hapbee. Hapbee is a wearable technology company with devices using patented ultra-low frequency energy technology to produce sensations such as happy, alert, focus, relax, and others. Hapbee is definitely one of the more interesting companies that I've interviewed. I met Yona through some associates and he pitched me on the story and the technology. While I liked Yona and was impressed with him and the team he put together, I was pretty skeptical of the technology. Yona, you sent me a free Hapbee unit to try out. I've had sleep problems for most of my life and I was willing to try something new. And while everyone is different, and this is definitely an N=1 situation, I've been sleeping better and most notably deeper when using the device. Whether it's a placebo or it really works, not really that important to me. I am sleeping better, so I'm using it. I did participate in the last financing and I did receive this unit for free, so that's full disclosure. But remember, this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We are here to learn about the company. Yona, thank you for joining us and let's hear the story.
Thank you very much, Martin. Appreciate the intro and certainly the interest. And, you know, I think before I dive in, I'll do my own little disclaimer about how I came about to join Hapbee and decide to run it as its CEO. I've been in place since June the 1st. I can honestly tell you that prior to joining Hapbee, I, like you, had issues sleeping. I happen to be 59 years old and I don't know if it's age related, but I had no problems falling asleep, especially with the help of a glass of red wine. But when 3:30 would come, and that was in the middle of the night, I'd be up and I would have a hell of a time trying to fall back asleep. And when I first tried Hapbee at the insistence of its founder, I, like you, went from skeptic to curious when it worked. And that's what led me on the journey to understand more about this technology, what was behind it, whether it was placebo or not. And when I checked all those boxes, it became immediately apparent to me that there was a mission for me here to help commercialize and expose this technology and its benefits to as broad an audience as possible. And so that's my journey, and super excited about kind of the progress we've made to date. This slide pretty much does a pretty good job of encapsulating what got me excited about it and what got me on board, and encouraged me to pull a team together that has scaled disruptive technologies in the past. The first one was the scale of the global wellness market is like something I've never seen before. I've been involved in wireless. I've been involved in mobility services. I've been involved in pure B2B and B2C e-commerce. It's a $4.2 trillion market. And if you look at all of the different sectors or the different areas for which we have a viable alternative solution, sleep, performance, anxiety, sexual health, weight loss, etc. Each one of those is in the 100 to 150 billion dollar category in and of itself. You start adding these things together, you get into the trillions pretty quickly, and then you multiply by global, and you recognize that this is a huge and growing opportunity. Most of the major technology companies are making massive investments in wellness, both in wearables and in non-wearable technologies. So this is an emerging growth sector, and we've got very unique technology that is proving itself very rapidly to be very sticky. I guess that brings me on to the second point, which is kind of the business model. This is a happy necklace. When you think about it, it's basically a speaker. It's a device that allows you to play a bunch of signals that the bioreceptors in your body can hear. Super, super low energy. It doesn't affect anything else. It just stimulates bioreceptors in your body in the same way that would happen if you were to ingest a substance. The nice thing about this and the business model is we have two revenue streams. We make positive margin when we sell the device. But today it's a necklace. We'll soon be announcing new products, new devices for different parts of your body, which we're really excited about. So this is a positive. We have a positive margin device business, but that's really a gateway to what we consider to be the core product. The core product are the signals or the blends. You'll play one for sleep. You'll play one for relaxation. You'll play one for focus. You'll play one for anxiety, one for entertainment, and so on. Those are all on a subscription basis. Think of it as Spotify for how you want to feel. So you've got a device business that's a one-time, and then you've got a recurring revenue subscription business where consumers are subscribing to the whole catalog of blends that they want to leverage on an all-you-can-eat or all-you-can-use basis. The sales strategy for growing the business, it's diverse. Our primary focus to date has been direct to consumer. We've sold now well over 6,000 units, and that pace is accelerating on a monthly basis. Most of that has been traditional direct to consumer marketing, but that is expanding. Third-party retail, a distribution network, social media, all of these things are now ramping up. And so it's really exciting to have this diverse revenue stream that marries with a bunch of different growth vehicles. We managed to assemble in relatively short order a world-class team. I'll walk you through that. So people who've basically taken disruptive technologies before and scaled those businesses to the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. And we're in a very unique space. A lot of people are talking about wearables. Wearables are a big thing. Fitbit, Whoop, Apple Watch. I'm wearing one right now. Oura Ring. If you think about all of these, the one thing that most wearables have in common is they're monitoring devices. They monitor your biorhythms or your biofeedback or your heart rate or your pulse or your sleep cycles. They're monitoring devices. They don't actually do anything. They're readers, and they're linked to a dashboard that then tells you once and for all that, here are all of the things that you need to improve about yourself, right? These are opportunities. So we're going to measure all of your biorhythms and here are opportunities for you to get better. We're the flip side of the coin, right? This is a catalyst. This stimulates your body, stimulates and gives you the effect that you're looking for that can then be read on these other wearables. So if you think about the growing major category of wearables, we're actually a perfect partner. We're the opposite side of the coin. And that, for me, when you kind of combine all of these things together, I'm like, huge market, a great revenue structure, huge opportunities, untapped opportunities for growth. And we've got patented technology that nobody else has. There's no other product like this. And we're a perfect complement to arguably the largest growth portion of the wellness industry. And so these were the functions that got me involved. I mentioned the size of the market. Global wellness is huge. About 60% of people who currently are leveraging Hapbee are leveraging our sleep signals. So they're using it for sleep, like Martin, like you did, and like I did. It's the easiest way to sense a difference if you're somebody who has issues either falling asleep, staying asleep, whether it's at night, for us, or if you're a professional athlete, and we do have a growing number of pro sports teams who use this and professional athletes who use this, where you need to almost sleep on demand, kind of between training and a game. This is a great device because you don't need to pop pills. You don't need to take supplements. You don't need to harm your body in any way. You can just elicit the response that you're looking for of either making you drowsy or allowing you to sleep longer or sleep deeper simply by playing the same signal. And so if you think about the sleep business alone, it's over $100 billion. That's what people in North America alone are spending on sleep. And it's growing. It's growing rapidly. And it's growing on an international basis. So huge opportunity, not only globally, but within kind of the core areas of focus where Hapbee is. We talk about this as the future. In some respects, it's the past. I recall in my last company, we were fortunate enough to get Amazon as an investor. And I remember having the distinct benefit of spending a lot of time with the folks who invented Alexa, their voice platform. And one of the things that stuck with me, because growing up, I was a big Star Trek fan. They told me that the originating concept around Alexa was the Star Trek computer, the original computer, and the manner in which Kirk, the captain, would interface with the computer. They said it was natural language. It wasn't a hierarchy. It wasn't kind of like a voice tree of logic. He could basically have a natural conversation and the computer could respond. That was their vision for Alexa, that Alexa would ultimately become a conversational agent. And a lot of where their roadmap was heading was to achieve that, not to have a command-based voice system. And so I'll use another parallel from Star Trek for any sci-fi fans. When I first heard about Hapbee, the first thing I thought about was Dr. McCoy's medical tricorder. I thought, the three coolest things that I remember from Star Trek was the two-way pager that he could see people on. I never thought that would happen. And we've got iPhones, so check the box on that one. Obviously the transporter, is the coolest thing. And then the fact that McCoy, when somebody was sick, could beam a magnetic signal into the body and heal somebody, that to me was science fiction, but it's not. Albert Einstein figured it out in the 1920s. He predicted that the future of medicine was going to be magnetic. Look, everything we know are magnetic fields. And what scientists discovered about 15 years ago, and this is the core of our technology, is that most of the interactions with compounds that you put in your body, whether it's a pill or it's, this cup of Starbucks or a cigarette or an additive or a nootropic, whatever it is that you're putting in your body to elicit a response, to make you calmer, to make you more focused, whether it's Adderall or melatonin or dopamine, all of these additives, the reaction with your body is not chemical. It's not a lock and key. What is actually happening when you're metabolizing those compounds is those compounds are releasing a very, very, very faint magnetic signal. That's what they're doing. And the act of metabolizing and releasing that, if you will, resonance or song is picked up by bioreceptors in your body. That's what they figured out. And so once you understand that the reaction between your body, whether it's your brain or your muscles, and the compounds that you're ingesting, that cup of coffee or that cigarette, once you realize that it's not a chemical reaction, that it's actually a magnetic signal that is being generated and read and heard by your body, you ask yourself the obvious question: can't I just bypass this delivery mechanism and just play the signal? Well, the answer is yes. That's what Hapbee is. We just play the signal. You want to sleep, you don't need melatonin. You want to be focused, you don't need Adderall. You want to get drowsy, you don't need adenosine. These are all compounds that are buried in things that you eat or ingest or smoke or drink. You don't need that delivery mechanism. You could just play the signal. No different than I don't need, to resurrect the Beatles to listen to Hey Jude. I can play that on MP3. And that's what Hapbee really is. It's a platform that allows us to play the signals of compounds and elicit the reaction without any side effects that you get from the carriers. And, I'm not a scientist, but that's basically the way it works. And I guess the proof is in the pudding. Guys like Dan Sullivan, who's probably the foremost professional coach in the world, Dave Asprey, founder of Bulletproof Coffee, Ben Greenfield, probably the foremost physical athlete on the planet, a whole host of professional athletes, entertainers. They all use Hapbee for the same reason I do, because it helps and it makes a difference without any of the side effects. And here's the beauty of it. Anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes after you stop using the signal, after you turn it off, your body returns back to normal. And there's no side effects. There's nothing in your blood. Nothing's left resonating. You're free and clear of any individual side effects. I mentioned how it all works. I think the key for us, and I won't go into a ton of detail, but we have an exclusive license to commercialize this technology for what we would call non-therapeutic means. So that means we're not making medical claims. If we would have to deal with Health Canada or the FDA. So we're not making any health claims. We're not making any benefit claims. We'll leave the proof. I think the proof is in the pudding. But about $80 million has gone into developing this technology. We have an exclusive right to commercialize this for non-therapeutic means. As long as it doesn't require a prescription from a doctor, and we don't make medical claims, we're the only guys in the world who can use this. And what we've done is we've taken all of these compounds. I mentioned some of them: nicotine, adenosine, THC, caffeine. We've blended them together into these, what we call lifestyle blends, that you could use at specific times. You need to focus on schoolwork, or you've got a big project or essay to get out. You don't need Adderall. You don't need Red Bull. You can play a signal that emulates a nicotine signal, and you're going to get the same amount of focus and flow. If you have problems sleeping, you don't need to pop Xanax or take Tylenol sinus medicine to make you fall asleep. You can just play a nighttime sleepy blend. And so that's this notion of blending some of these compound signals together, and we play them. Think of them as a note creating a harmony, and the harmony elicits the results that you're looking for. And all of this stuff is tested in the laboratory, both for efficacy and for safety. We have an entire scientific department that does all of this work. This is version 1. The headband is version 1 of how we deliver the signals. You can either wear it on your head, you can wear it around your neck. Yep, sorry.
Yeah, just going back to the last slide, $70 million invested in it. Can you just, there's a company that developed the core technology. They're using it to make therapeutic kind of FDA devices that they're going to go through all the trials and so forth. And they kind of license to you, hey, for the consumer products, non-medical devices, you can use that. Did I have that right? Who's the company that you're licensing it from? And just, can you talk about the terms? Is there a royalty you pay, or have you already paid like a one-time fee for that, or how is that?
That's structured? A great question. And you got it 100% correct. So there's an outfit, a company privately held out of Seattle called Emulate Therapeutics. They're the ones who discovered and invented this technology. They invented it back in 2004. And they decided that they would pursue FDA approval for a medical device, primarily cancer treatment. Now, they've got their FDA, if you go on their website, and I think we refer to it in some of our literature as well. They've got clinical trials going back 15 years now for the efficacy in cancer treatment as opposed to traditional chemotherapy. So lots of work there. About 2 years ago, they were sitting around the boardroom table and saying, hey, the road to FDA approval for this is a long one and clearly expensive. Wonder if there isn't a parallel pursuit out there as a non-therapeutic device. And so they took the technology, created Hapbee. They own about 30% of our stock, so they're a shareholder, and we do have a royalty agreement with them that pays them a royalty on our net sales of both devices and of blends. And we've got a great working relationship. Anytime that we want to source new compound signals to create new blends, we work collaboratively with them, and there is an agreement between the two companies for that, and it's very equitable.
And you have your own R&D team as well as sort of leveraging their R&D team? Yeah,
because look, we're creating a consumer-facing product. It's one thing for us to source, for example, adenosine or melatonin from them, and we know that there's efficacy, but we need to know to our own satisfaction that these things are going to have the desired result and are going to be safe for consumer use. So we have our own level of both animal and consumer testing.
Right. Okay. Nice.
So as I was mentioning, this is kind of version 1 of the delivery mechanism. It's a headband. You can wear it on your head. You can wear it as I am, and Martin, you are, around your neck. For nighttime use, I actually put it under my pillow. I find that I'm not sleeping with this around my neck, so I put it under my pillow. Basically, what it does is it creates a very, very, very low energy magnetic field. It's about 30,000 times less powerful than a cell phone, but the magnetic field has an effective radius of about 8 inches. So it'll affect your central nervous system when you're sleeping if you put it under your pillow. Some people, like for pain and recovery relief, they'll put it under a pillow and under their back with a CBD signal during the day. So it's great. It works. The exciting thing for us, foreshadowing a little bit, at CES coming up, we'll be participating, and we'll be showing a bunch of new form factors that'll be coming out. So we're excited about that. But it's a great first start, and it works exceedingly well, and we're shipping a growing number of them. This is really the core of the value proposition, which are the blends. They're categorized on 3 main categories: relax, focus, or play. And then within each category, again, it's like Spotify or Apple Music. You choose the blend you want, you choose how long you want to play it for, and that's as simple as that. And that's really the core of the value proposition. In future releases, we've got it on the roadmap. We'll be adding this notion of routines, where you can basically do time release of blends one after another. So let's say you're on a flight from Newark to London, and you want to do 2 hours of work, sleep for 4 hours, and then get woken up. You can pre-program that up through signals, and then kind of plan your day, or plan your trip, or plan your work. So that's kind of the way it works. I talked earlier a little bit about the ecosystem, and clearly there's a large and growing market for wellness wearables. We see ourselves as a complement to them, and it's really interesting, because if you're getting that feedback, let's say on your Apple Watch, or your Google Fitbit, or your Whoop, or your Oura Ring, the next logical step is, if you're using a Hapbee and a wearable device that's reading the direct impact that the Hapbee is having on you physically, the next logical step is to start building algorithms that it's kind of self-correct, and, if you will, auto-dose. And that's the long-term vision. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, is that for all of these guys who are staking claim on the bioreceptor, on the part of the wearable market, where the logical next step is a partnership with us. And, some of those discussions are already underway. I talked a little bit at the outset about how you grow. To date, most of it has been word of mouth. We've kicked off a direct-to-consumer program. Basically, it's social media and search engine marketing. We've started to onboard third-party distributors and dealers who want to carry the product, spas, health clinics, physicians, and so on, who want to incorporate Hapbee as part of their health and wellness protocols and want to sell it to their customers. So you'll be seeing more about that. And as I mentioned before, integration partners. We've got a program underway with ambassadors, with wellness counselors. We've got a program underway with pro athletes and with military, both active and retired military veterans. So lots of opportunities. I think the mind starts to wander pretty quickly about applicable markets and use cases for something that's so effective.
Sorry, with the integration partners, that is, you could license out the technology. I don't want to get too hyperbolic here, but let's say to a Fitbit or something. So on their watch, they've got the sensors and now they've got a stimulator or whatever.
You're absolutely right.
So that kind of a
I
thing.
think,
Or
yeah,
you could
term,
maybe integrate some Fitbit technology into your thing and have a co-branded product, or integrate with the Fitbit app and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's one place. The other place, and the other place you could definitely see is like, I think we've all been through this. You're driving down the highway at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're nodding off to sleep, and what's the safety mechanism? I mean, the car's got some stuff built into it now that never did, but for me, it was also always AC/DC on 11 and either a big Tim Hortons coffee or a big gulp, right? Trying to keep yourself awake from nodding off. This technology could be built into your seat back, and you could get your caffeine in a different way, and like a non-chemical stimulant to keep yourself awake and from falling asleep. Similarly, and it's not a bad segue, there's no reason ultimately you need to be putting a headband under a pillow when it can be built into your mattress. And these form factors are beyond the point of prototype. Our plan is to launch these in market in 2022. I don't have specific dates, but we're making lots of progress of building the technology into other goods. And, Martin, you're absolutely right. I think phase one for us is we'll build kind of proof of concept and start shipping these things ourselves. But longer term, bigger picture, our view is to license the technology into people who are already in the bed business, into the headset business, into the car seat business. We don't want to be there. I think this is a technology that amps up their own value proposition. A sleep mask that, I mean, so many people are using sleep masks already that are effectively inert. All they do basically is block out light. Imagine blocking out light and getting a melatonin signal at the same time. I think that's a killer app. A therapy a pad. We've had a lot of requests from physiotherapists, chiropractors, professional athletes as part of a recovery or training. Building it directly into furniture, whether it's an office chair, a therapeutic chair, a gaming chair. You could imagine, again, the same technology is leveraged across a number of different delivery mechanisms, either bespoke products that we market under our own brand and distribute, or ideally longer term, bigger picture, we just license the technology and this becomes a built-in feature like Dolby was into televisions and speakers and entertainment systems.
Sorry, going back to the back slide there with the technology, is like your low risk components here. So is it basically like you run current through a wire, it creates a magnetic field, and maybe you modulate that electric current a bit to create different frequencies or whatever, and so you got a little bit of electronics somewhere sort of modulating the electrical signal? And
yeah, basically there's
kind of
three.
The dummies version of it?
Yeah, the dummy version, think about it as 4 components. One is a power source, relatively low battery, because this thing is generating so little energy. Like even a small pill-sized battery can generate 14, 16 hours worth of use. So you need a power source. The second thing that you need is a memory, because we're storing, really effectively, we're storing MP3s. It's a speaker. It's a Walkman. We're storing the MP3s of the signals on the device, so they're there and they're unlocked by some firmware that is communicating with your phone. And then the last thing is the coil, right? And the coil, in this case, it's copper wire that's tightly wound 17 or 18 times. That's what is creating the low energy magnetic field. But, you know, in some instances, it can be copper wire. In other instances, like on the bed, there is no copper wire. Actually, there's a printed circuit. We're using a really leading edge technology where partners have been able to create low energy magnetic fields directly woven into fabric. So you can imagine that could be a mattress, that could just easily be a hat, it could be a sweater, it could be a wearable jacket. There's no copper coil in it. So again, the mind starts to go in a million different directions when you realize that you're not limited by having to create a copper coil somewhere. You can actually print the circuit onto fabric. It's really cool where this thing is going to go. From a revenue stream point of view, we make about 50 points margin on the device sale, which gives us plenty of room for customer acquisition at profit or better. And then really, I mean, the long-term revenue stream is subscriptions. Currently, about 50% of our people are opting for what we call the all access subscription. It's $19 a month. And, you know, we've got a growing universe of users who are paying us for that all access on a monthly basis. And our objective there is to continuously add value, more functionality, more integrations, more blends, so that people continue to see value in the product and in the subscription.
When you create a blend or a signal or that, like, how much is that? Just some guy in the R&D lab, like turning some knobs and dials, like, okay, here we got or is there a lot of sort of R&D or science?
Well, we have a chief science officer. He's right in the middle of the page there, Brian Mogan. He's a PhD in neurophysics, so he understands this a lot better than I do. And if I accused him of turning knobs, I think he would take issue with that. So yeah, there is a lot more to it than that. I think for the purposes of our communication, and certainly in terms of talking to consumers and end users, we like to keep it simple. But, you know, I think you would find the same thing if you talk to a blend master who's working at Starbucks or who's working and, you know, doing the next great bourbon, or you know, what they call them noses in the fragrance business. There's a lot of art and a lot of science in blending and making sure that the blends that we create have the desired effect.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go through the team, because that's one of the things that impressed me.
We put together, I think, like a world-class team who's kind of been there and done that before. Myself and Eric have scaled companies into the hundreds of millions. In my case, in billions of dollars, basically from a standing start. Brent is a world-class CFO based out of Chicago.
Yona, sorry.
Yep.
Like, could you actually just give me a highlight reel of your career, just so people, besides the billions of dollars, like some more specifics?
100%. I started my career at Avon Products here in Montreal. I'm based here in Montreal. I spent 9 years split between Montreal and then working at headquarters in New York. I started Avon's first direct-to-consumer business, which was a catalog business, and then took Avon online with their first e-commerce. I started database marketing and direct-to-consumer for Saks Fifth Avenue, New York, as their first VP of direct and database marketing. I was the founding chief marketing officer of Fido, the wireless phone company. So if you love or hate the dogs, I apologize. But you know, we did a lot of groundbreaking things there in the staid wireless industry or telecom industry. No contract, per second billing, rollover minutes. We were the first in the world to do all of that stuff, and you know, now those are all integral parts of the value prop for wireless. We were disruptive, and then starting in 2000, And 3, I became an entrepreneur. I've started and scaled 5 technology companies. I guess the 2 most notable, 2009, I started a 2-sided marketplace called Beyond the Rack, which we scaled to about $150 million in revenue. And I ran that for 6 years. We did about $1 billion in revenue over the course of the 6 years. My last company, which I ran for 4 years based out of Chicago, was called Arrive. We were a 2-sided marketplace for mobility services, primarily parking. We became built into 11 of the top 13 automakers. If you say, Alexa, find me parking, that was us. Siri, find me parking, that was us on a white label basis. We worked with about 70% of the pro sports and entertainment venues, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, and so on. Sold that company in April of this year on a private equity deal to a large private equity fund. Was thinking of retiring, and I stayed retired for 13 days because I found Hapbee, or rather Hapbee found me, and here I am. I've been fortunate, and I could say, with the exception of Brian and Pat, our chief science officer, and Pat, our VP of devices, I've brought all of these other guys on board. Some of whom I've worked with in the past, not all. I've worked in the past with Eric and Brent. Yannick, who was head of engineering at Luxury Retreats, which is now a division of Airbnb. He runs all of our technology. Iggy, bottom left-hand corner, he was vice president of partnerships at Therabody, the guys who do Theragun. He's been an amazing addition. Jordan, who's not on this screen, was head of growth at Peloton. He joined us. Kevin, who's not on this screen, was head of e-commerce at Stitch Fix and Mattel. He just joined us a month ago. David, who's our VP of operations, Kenny, VP legal. We've got a world-class team, and I think that the unifying element around all of these guys is they're all world-class. They've all worked in scaling either disruptive wellness or technology companies before into the hundreds of millions, and none of them came through a recruiter. They all kind of came through the same path where they were introduced to the product. It made a material difference in either their life or the life of someone close to them, a son, a daughter, a parent in some cases, a spouse, and they said, make me an offer, I need to do this. So you got a bunch of passionate believers who all started as skeptics. And I think that's something really compelling. We're all here because we want to be here, not because we were looking for the next best thing. A very similar thing at the board level, a great bunch of guys who scaled technology and wellness companies before. And I want to call particular attention to Mark Tim, second from the right. Mark runs a company out of Indianapolis that is the largest independent reseller on Amazon. I don't need to tell you how important Amazon could be and hopefully will be as a distribution partner, particularly in the wellness space. But Mark makes that a much easier hill to climb because of his expertise, his relationships, and his ability to navigate. And that's already being planned. So a really great bunch of folks. We've got a roadmap about how this thing grows from here. 2021, I entered the space. We just completed a $6.1 million fundraise, as a pipe into the company, which is great, gives us plenty of runway to execute. It was really about setting the stage for growth. I think 2022 for us, as we enter that, we've got a recipe for growing the business. We've got a strategy. We've got a growing and passionate customer base. We've got the right team. I think you can expect to see great things from the company in 2022. And then an opportunity to double and triple down on the bets in 2023, look internationally, and really focus on some of the channels that give us the biggest opportunity for short and long-term expansion.
Sorry, going back to that
Yep.
quickly, just launch of third-party blends. So sort of arm waving, would that be like, hey, here's a Starbucks coffee blend on the app, or is
yes,
like
exactly
what are you
correct.
thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for somebody who's got product to digitize it and make it available both to their customers and to ours.
All right.
You know, think of us as online streaming for the movie business.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're a great complementary distribution channel for the growing number of people who don't want to deal with the side effects of ingesting all these substances, but still want the benefit and want to benefit from that, you know, the credibility that comes from a branded thing. So Starbucks, great, love to do a deal with them. Red Bull, love to do a deal with them. I think their product does, you know, what it's intended to do. Here's another delivery mechanism. But you could also think about that from, you know, if you've got a chain of clinics, or you're in the health and wellness business, and you want to develop a blend of your own under your own brand name, why not? It's almost like self-publishing, or creating your own music, or creating your own book. You can create your own digital protocol of wellness using our tools. And what's really particularly interesting for us there is not only does I think that bring brand credibility, but it also brings kind of like a new audience. You know, people who already have their own followers, who already believe in the protocol or the, you know, wellness approach of a particular practitioner, can leverage it through Hapbee, through a co-branded or a blend like that. So you're 100% right.
Right.
I think that's the story. But we just completed, as I mentioned, a $6.1 million fundraise. It was a private placement into the company, and it will provide us more than enough runway to execute and to start delivering meaningful quarter-over-quarter growth, both in terms of device hardware sales, but also, and I think more meaningfully, a growing population of paid recurring monthly subscribers.
And can you tell us roughly how much do insiders own?
It's less than 15%.
Okay.
Of the company. There are two kind of classes of shares. You know, one that Emulate owns, and then one that was with the founding team. You know, together, I think that's probably about 30%, 30 to 35% of the business, if memory serves. And then the rest would be part of the public float.
Gotcha. And does Emulate have a seat on the board, or what is their kind of influence?
They do. They have a seat on the board. In fact, Chris Rivera, their CEO, is our chairman.
Okay.
And we've got a very collaborative relationship with them. I mean, it's nice where a major shareholder has a vested interest in your success.
For sure. All right. We got a bunch of questions here. I think we kind of hit the high points on the pitch. Should we go into the questions?
Great.
I will. Okay, we addressed the insider ownership. Does Hapbee sync with any other wearables at this point? And I guess in the future that would be the plan. If that not now?
Not yet. It's on the roadmap. I think you could probably assume we would go in rank order of importance. We you know, so we're aware of all of them. Most of them are aware of us. It's definitely on the roadmap. So if you've got an Apple or a Fitbit or a Whoop, we'd like to see the data go bi-directionally. It's on a roadmap, but it's not available yet.
All right, we have a customer here says, I'm a loyal Hapbee user. When will the playlist be available, and when will there be blends that have play times of over an hour?
Okay, so I'll go with the second one first. It's my pet peeve, the pet peeve of many people. In our rush to get blends out on September the 17th, I had to make a King Solomon decision about stuff that wasn't going to happen. And that was the most painful one, was the fact that the timer wasn't ready. I will tell you, it'll be before the end of this month. The timer debacle will be resolved, and you'll be able to set both blends and signals from anywhere from 15 minutes to 8 hours.
Right. And the playlist, you mentioned playlist.
Working on it. It's on the roadmap. I can't give you a specific date, but I would say sooner rather than later.
All right. And can you name any specific professional sports teams or athletes that are currently using the Hapbee device?
I wish I could. I can't, just because we don't have marketing relationships with them yet. I can tell you that every one of the pro sports teams, and there are 6. I'm going to do a mental count.
6 teams are using it.
There's
currently?
6 teams that are using it.
Okay.
There are 2 baseball. Trying to think. In football, 2, 1 basketball, and 1 professional soccer team. All of these, I could tell you definitively, were all inbounds. They contacted us. We didn't contact them. This was one of them recently won a major championship, and a recent MVP of a pro sports league is using it as well. The interesting thing, look, if you're a pro athlete, I'm clearly not a pro athlete, but if you're a pro athlete, the margin of error is very, very slight. And every advantage you can get in terms of performance is huge. Many teams today are focused as much on mental and emotional preparation and recovery as they are on physical. We're like smack in the bullseye for this thing. The first pro athlete that reached out to us, and it was a LinkedIn that I received probably my 2nd week on the job. They heard about us on a podcast, and said, this individual said to me, I'm an aging athlete. I won't name the sport. Sleep is primary for me. The only way that I'm able to sleep is with using chemical substances, which is a bit of an anachronism for somebody who treats his body as a temple. I'm looking for an alternative. I'd like to try it. He tried it for 2 weeks, and then he bought 6 of them for teammates. And then the trainer called us about 2 weeks later and said, well, I'd like to buy them for the entire team. And then this thing just, I guess there's a community of both physical and mental trainers in the pro sports world. They talk. And so, but I can't say anything more than that at this point, just because it's not public, and I don't want to violate anyone's confidentiality.
And just to like, if when it doesn't have, like, your body needs to kind of get used to it a little bit. You need to wear it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks to really for your body to feel it, because that was generally kind of my experience on it.
Every person is different. I will say, for me, the impact was immediate. For others, I've heard anywhere from 3 to 5 uses. So your body sensitizes to it. I think every person is different. We advise people 3 to 5 just to give it a shot. It's why we have also a very liberal satisfaction and usage guarantee. Like, we encourage people to try the product repeatedly. And we'll happily refund them if they're not happy or they're not seeing the results that they're looking for. This isn't a trap. We're not looking to take people's money. We're really looking to help people and help them change their lives. Look, if there was a way for me to give these things away for free, I would. Unfortunately, it costs me money to promote and manufacture, so I have to recoup at least that as part of the process.
Do you think there's a big learning curve in terms of like manufacturing these, where like 2 years from now you'll have higher production rates and new electronics? So I don't know, you could maybe sell them for $99 and still make some money off it. Or
There's the objective is obviously to reduce. Look, this thing started a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, as an Indiegogo campaign, right? Literally, guy building it in his garage, right? And so we've come a long way. We're about to onboard a second contract manufacturer. We're starting to scale. With scale, obviously, is going to come efficiencies in manufacturing, and in sourcing and in componentry. So I think there's going to be an opportunity moving forward as the company continues to scale, to do what, to lower the barriers to entry, to lower the cost of the devices. That way, the other way, obviously, is just licensing this to somebody who's already in the volume business and kind of getting out of the way. And once Hapbee becomes a feature and not a product, I think that's when this thing clicks over into hypergrowth. Once you start seeing Hapbee as a built-in feature, like Bluetooth. Bluetooth is a feature, right?
all right, I've got a couple
When
of questions.
when Bluetooth started, it was a device, it was a dongle that you connected to things.
Yeah. All right. I've got two questions that I'm going to kind of mash up together here. Someone's asking about EMF signals and Hapbee, because there is a lot of people concerned about being too close to electronics and like the negative effects of that. And then there's another question here. It's like, you said there's no risk to the body. What type of testing has been done, and any third parties validating this? And I always think of it, well, if it has a positive impact, maybe over the long term, could there, like, I don't know, my molecules or cells, I'm sounding like a goofy, maybe it'll have some detrimental long-term negative impact where my things get used to using it, and without that, right, I'll be sort of addicted to it because I can't sleep without it then.
Well, I think there's a difference between you can't live without the benefit and addiction, and I think there's also a difference between addiction and chemical dependency, which is what most substances generate in the human body. What I could tell you about safety is this thing started out as the technology. It's the exact same technology that Emulate is using for the purposes of cancer treatment. Okay, and they've been in clinical studies since 2004. There is a ton of research that has been done, longitudinal research that has been done about the long-term impacts. I could tell you that we not only do efficacy studies, but we also do pathological studies on some of the, and we test primarily on mice. The interesting thing about mice is when you're testing for efficacy, a mouse doesn't know what a placebo is, right? They either get drowsy or they get hyperactive or they fall asleep. So it's a pretty clear indication. And we do also double-blind pathological studies on their tissues to see whether or not there's been any impact on the tissues. And to date, and again, this is going back almost 15 years, we've never seen any signs that there's any harm. The energy that is emitted by this device and by this technology is so low. As I said, it's 30,000 times lower than a cell phone. So if you're using a cell phone or headphones or anything like that, this isn't even anywhere in the, those are in the gigahertz and megahertz range. This is in the hertz range. You need to divide by tens of thousands to get as low as we are in terms of emitting energy. So I kind of put it on the gradient of safety. If I'm okay with a TV and I'm okay with a cell phone, then like this doesn't even come up to the ankles there. And every study that we have done pathologically on animals and has indicated no adverse effect.
Right. And someone is asking here, is there a list of the conditions that the product can support? How could I get a list of this? I know this question asker quite well, and I can hook you guys up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if I'm happy to connect them with we've got a bunch of really great onboarding coaches. And when somebody buys the device for the first time or has a question, those folks can walk them through, here are the 25 blends. Here's what they're purported to assist with or optimize for. Give it a try for yourself.
All right. Why the need for two classes of shares, and could you actually explain kind of how they're different? Are they super voting shares that?
No, there's nothing like that. Yeah, the only reason that there was a different share, it goes back to the complexity of a U.S. company listing on the Canadian exchange back 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, when they first went public through an RTO. You had a predominantly American or US based ownership group that would otherwise have qualified. So they created multiple shares that upon conversion look a little bit different, but they don't have any different rights or anything like that. So everybody has the same technical power. The only difference is that they multiply upon conversion, and those are only for the kind of the founding team and for Emulate. And whenever we publish our share counts, we do it on an as converted basis. So when you're looking on any of the public capital reporting things, you might actually see a depressed share count versus what it is on an as converted basis. In the document that we will send you, Martin, and that one we quote in our documents, we always convert. So
really, you got to look at the fully diluted numbers.
Yeah, it's almost, you almost have to multiply by 2, but post this round not quite to get the full actual enterprise value and share count of the company.
Gotcha. All right. Does Emulate charge you for R&D and new signal development? Is that like co-projects, or do you guys just do that on your own?
Yeah, and there's an agreed upon rate. The process of actually creating new signals, and right now we've got plenty. We don't really need to create more. It's not a big source of expense, but basically it's kind of like going into the studio to record an album. You do 15 at a time, because there's a lot of work that goes into creating them. You don't want to power up this whole infrastructure to do one. So you go in there and you do 10 or 15 at a time. And I don't know what that costs, but let's say it costs $75,000 or $100,000, but you need to amortize that over, call it 10 or 15 signals.
Since you got signals and you kind of mentioned it before, are there any signals that could be generated for like sexual health type issues and replacing blue pills and that?
No question. Sexual health, appetite suppression. The mind goes in a lot of different places. These are all opportunities. The one thing I will tell you is that as a company, we're very focused on a very narrow band of solutions in the short term to establish our market credibility. I think the risk is if you purport to do too many things, people will rightfully believe you can't do anything well. So, right now our primary focus is sleep and focus, and we'll allow consumers to discover the rest. But those are the two primary entry points for consumers, are sleep and focus, even though the product can do a whole lot more.
Gotcha. All right. And regarding what are the patents? And I guess you guys don't hold them. Emulate does, and they license you access.
Yeah, there are patents related to the core technology that Emulate holds. We have applied for patents of our own with regards to this device, the delivery mechanisms, the notion of blends. These are all proprietary to us, not Emulate. Emulate is in the business of digitizing compounds, period, full stop. Everything else is kind of ours on a proprietary basis. and we're in the process of gaining the protection that we need on that side as well. So we'll be covered on both sides.
All right, and we have one final, I don't think it's quite a question here, but somebody, thank you for all you do at Hapbee. This product is going to help a lot of people and reduce their dependency on unhealthy chemicals. God bless you and your team. That's,
thank you.
I don't know who that is. I didn't make that up. So there's
you've
got one happy user on.
We feel the same. We feel the same way. You know what, look, Martin, to get out of bed on a daily basis and know that prima facie you're helping people with an alternative to clinical or chemical dependency, and reducing side effects, and at the same time you're building a great company. Usually my experience has been that doing good and making money are independent pursuits. It's nice to get up every day and know that you're kind of achieving both things at the same time.
All right. Well, that is a great way to wrap this up here. I guess what you've got your roadmap here, which we've actually got on the screen. Let's say in the next 6 months, what kind of news releases of things should we be expecting? New distribution channel? I would think in the world of social media, sort of like advocates or influencers, it will be a big thing for you guys. I don't know, new products. You mentioned CES. Am I kind of on the right path here?
New products, new channel partners for distribution, and brand advocates. I think those are going to be the big topics over the course of the next 3 months.
Right. Yona, thank you very much. That was great. Hopefully we'll get you back in 6 months or something and we can get an update on how things have progressed. So thanks a lot and all the best.
Be delighted. Thank you for having us.
All right. Talk to you soon. Cheers.